to accompany you on this just awful, miserable, uncomfortable slate of games that Major League Baseball has presented to us on this afternoon. I'm joined by Dan Gaspar at Mr. Tuttle05 and Derek Hardy, both of FantasyInsiders.com. I don't know how much baseball we're going to talk about. We might just kind of hang out for an hour with you guys because here's a real quick spoiler of what you do. Choose between one of your favorite pitchers, probably Kluber, maybe some Garrett Richards action, and then just load up on White Sox and Texas bats. Except
there's weather, so you got to check that. Like if you end up needing to fade those guys, then
just don't cancel your games. Like honestly,
that's how we're gonna make people money tonight. Is just by saying, don't play.
And I mean, I know that we say that like every time there's one of these like gross slates, and then like we all end up playing anyways. But like realistically, I hate tonight so much that I'm really not gonna play all that much. I'm going to play like a couple games.
Are you gonna pull a Steve and say, "Oh, I'm only putting $5 down," and then later in the night he'll link you like a 109 head to head?
No, I'm not going to do that. Like, I need to get a little bit of volume in because I got bills to pay and stuff, so I can't afford to, like, fade a game, like a slate entirely.
Well, you can if it's not a profitable slate.
No, because I will always have an edge in the games that I play with the way that I do game selection. I will always have an edge, so it's about applying the same process every single night, but I'm not going to go super heavy tonight.
Yeah, everyone else has the same ugly slate to look at. It's...
That San Francisco Giants stack would have been nice. Having some Pablo Sandoval earlier today would have been great. How many times throughout this show is Derek going to look at Batman and then go, I like Buster Posey at catcher?
It's going to happen.
I set it up so I don't do that now. I exclude the early games, but thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the guy with the Hunter Pence signs yesterday?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, they're so good, so good. It's like Hunter Pence is bad at parallel parking was one of them.
He's just a really weird dude. He's just a weird guy. I guess let's talk about pitchers, because this is actually probably where you're going to win or lose games tonight. I would assume most of your head-to-heads are going to come down to who's the right option out of Greinke, Scherzer, Kluber, Garrett Richards. It was actually really funny. Yeah, Smart. It was really funny in our Skype group chat last night. Dave Loughran messaged Kitchen and was like, "Hey, is it cool if I do like a little bit of an abbreviated version of the Daily Diamond?"
Oh my gosh!
And Dave's like, "Oh yeah, short slate for sure." And then Dan wakes up to the messages this morning. It's like, "There's like 9 pitching options. Why would you do the short version?" Like,
yeah, he totally took the weak parent approach. I told Davis he went. Dave's the weak one, so he went to Dave because he wanted to not write as much today, and said, "Hey, it's a short slate, even though there's like only good pitching options. Can I only write an abbreviated version?"
Honestly, I felt like it was an affront to me. I mean, I had to write these hitters, and the hitters were just gross, and he's going short on pitching when there's like 9 options.
But listen, Cardi asked me, and I told him, I told him nah wave. So I'm not that easy, to be honest. There are only 6 games, so I thought that it was just... I thought it abbreviated meant 4, not 3, but I didn't know that there were this many pitching options. Dave definitely...
Well, yeah, I kind of assumed the same thing, too. Dave's, like, playing all...
Yeah, he definitely pulled one over on us, for sure.
Yeah, I do feel bad for Cardi, though, because it was he was the one that should have had the abbreviated date writing with hitters, because it's bad. He did a good job, though.
He should have just said 2, like 6 words. Chicago White Sox, Texas Rangers, put 2 periods in between them and just called it good.
Article done.
Like, I don't even want to use the Tigers tonight because McCarthy apparently has, like, this new cutter that, like, makes him a decent pitcher.
Yeah, McCarthy's a pretty good pitcher, even though my system doesn't really like him a whole lot yet. And the Tigers are a good offense, but McCarthy's a good pitcher. I like him. He's not a guy you want to load up on.
Yeah, so, like, we're not going back to the Tigers stack.
Cleveland bats you could throw in there with Texas and Chicago. Not quite as good as they are, but Alfredo Simon is not a particularly good pitcher. So, and Cleveland's all lefties, so...
Mike Brantley superstar. Except they're not as lefty-heavy anymore because they're playing all these young guys now.
They got 7 in there tonight.
Do they? Okay, I guess like Aviles and Jose Ramirez.
Did you just call him Aviles?
Dude, did you not listen to the show?
Dude, that's what Davis calls him. It's unbelievable.
No, Dan on the show with a completely straight face called him Mike Aviles, like thinking that was the right name.
I can't believe that Davis calls him that. It's crazy.
It was
That's
almost
just
as
embarrassing,
good.
Davis. I don't know how you can call a guy.
It was
a name that's
almost
just
as
so
good.
blatantly wrong.
Tommy Mione will actually probably be one of the greatest moments in the history of this show, but Micah Viles was also up there. Okay, let's do pitchers. I mean, I'm assuming that Kluber is sort of the top one with both you guys with the wretched bag of hot trash that Cincinnati is running out calling a lineup.
Yeah, I think you combine that with the lack of a quality opponent, and Kluber is easily the top guy. Like, Richards and Greinke are going to have to face each other. So Kluber's the top guy for me.
Yeah, I think he's hit the cap, the vaunted DraftKings cap, where he just doesn't go over a certain price depending on performance. He's still only 9,800 on DraftKings, and I see no reason why. I mean, if you fade him, it's you're just lighting your money on fire. I mean, he could very well get hit, but there's just no reason to fade him. I mean, the last 3 games, I looked at his DraftKings totals: 43.5 points, 39.1 points, and 34.7 points. And you're getting that for 9,800 on DraftKings.
So he's been like almost as good as Tommy Medica.
Basically.
Yeah. I've been too tilted to look at DraftKings today because I had my girlfriend put together a PGA lineup for me this last weekend that outscored mine by like a solid 70 points, and it would have like hit all the double ups and cash GPPs, and I only played it in like the $5 one. So I've been pretty tilted about DraftKings, like because I hate golf so much.
You didn't fade McIlroy, did you?
No, I didn't fade Rory, but all of my other guys sucked. Like, I had Rory win the tournament, and then each and every one of my other guys was over. And it just got worse all weekend because there wasn't a cut.
You probably picked Chris Stroud as the... I'm
going to get out of this Skype call. Okay, as far as a number 2 option, or say that someone wanted to create an advantage in cash games on FanDuel because they saw some sort of inefficiency, because Kluber's probably going to be in between, like, 60 and 70% owned, I would imagine, tonight. Does that sound right, Dan? I mean,
I'm not sure on what side, FanDuel. I'm not sure on FanDuel. I personally still think he's the top option on FanDuel, but I think with the general public, with a bunch of aces going, I don't think you'll see a pitcher that high owned.
Okay, then who would you think will be comparable to him in terms of own percentages?
I think you'll see Scherzer and Greinke both up there. I think Kluber will still be the top owned guy, but we're talking 35% to 40%, would be my guess, in cash games, or in your 50-50s. Then you'll see Scherzer and Greinke maybe around that 20 to 25%.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Greinke is I always like to use him in cash games because he doesn't go as deep into games as Kluber does, just in general. He's more of like a 6-inning, 7-inning type pitcher, whereas the pitch mix that Kluber has allows him to go a little bit deeper into games because he generates more ground balls. But Greinke doesn't give up on putting batters away. He doesn't care if it's 2-1. He's still going to try and get that strikeout. And that's something that I really like about him. And the last time these guys pitched, they both went on the same day, and we had everyone on Twitter bemoaning their fate for fading Kluber on FanDuel against Felix Hernandez, and then he threw that complete game shutout, and then Greinke scored more FanDuel points because he struck so many guys out. So it's a conversation. Do you like Greinke tonight, Derek?
I do like Greinke. I think him and Richards are very close for me, and Richards is cheaper everywhere, so I think Richards is going to be my guy if I pick a pitcher from that game. I do like Greinke, but I think Anaheim's offense, or LA's offense, or whatever the Angels are, their offense is stronger than the Dodgers' offense is, and I think Richards is set up a little bit better, especially because he's used to pitching in the AL with a DH, and he's going into the NL where there isn't one, so he kind of gets a little bit of a bump that way. Like, he's better than his numbers indicate in the context of a National League park.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. So, actually, Richards will probably have a little bit of a bump in his projections due to the fact that he's not facing a DH tonight, yeah?
I think that should be accounted for because in the projected lineup, the Dodgers don't have a DH, I wouldn't think, unless they're just coming out of an AL series, which I don't think they are.
Okay, cool. I mean, what and Dan, you mentioned Scherzer. What do you see being attractive about him tonight? I mean, just facing the Yankees and the fact that he just strikes out a million dudes per inning.
Yeah, that's about it. If you hear a train going by, I apologize. There's a train passing right now. But yeah, the strikeout rate is the biggest thing. I don't think I like him as much for his price. I do think Greinke, Richards are kind of your next tier of options behind Kluber. But I wouldn't fault anyone for taking Scherzer either. It's just not a great park. Doesn't have the platoon. I think he's got the platoon advantage on two guys. So it just doesn't set up extremely well for him, and he has struggled at times this year if the situation's not ideal.
Yeah, as the most expensive pitcher, I don't think there's any reason to pay up for him in a less than ideal matchup when these other guys, I think, are better plays to begin with.
Yeah.
I think Samardzija, we haven't mentioned him much, but I think he's cheaper than everyone. Like, he's a full, $1,000 less than even Richards on DraftKings. So, as your second guy, or as a GPP guy on FanDuel, I think Samardzija's pretty good. I mean, Alex Cobb obviously isn't a good opponent for him, but Richards is up against Greinke, and most guys kind of have that kind of situation going on tonight. So I think for his price, Samardzija's a pretty good play.
I mean, we could do the old Ben Pritchett analysis. Richards is going to get real juiced up to pitch against Greinke, so you actually want to take him in a game against another elite pitcher because he's going to get so juiced up and want to strike out a ton of guys.
To be so amped.
He's going to be. I remember I watched Kershaw's perfect game with Ben, and just him providing analysis on every pitch in the 8th and the 9th inning was. It was as classic as you wanted it to be.
I haven't experienced this yet. I'm wanting to though.
Is he going to be in Las Vegas?
No.
Oh, dude, you have to watch. It's a good time because he's so Ben. I don't know. I don't want to talk about these pitchers anymore. I'm not gonna take anyone other than Kluber. Let's just pull up Cincinnati's lineup right now. I mean, who is Donald Lutz in the lineup? Oh no, Brian Payne is in the lineup instead of Donald Lutz.
We got Jack Hanahan as the DH.
Yeah, Hanahan, nice. Santiago's in there.
This is a really bad, and Jay Bruce, who's supposed to be good, has been one of the worst position players in all of baseball this year. So
I think that's overstating it, but he hasn't been good.
I bet he has negative WAR right now. If I went to go look, I'm going to, Derek, because we have nothing better.
It's not like I'm saying that Bruce has been a great player this year, but negative WAR seems a little extreme. But yeah, it's not a good lineup at all. I mean, there's a few guys you need to worry about: Frazier and Mesoraco and Billy Hamilton. Even Peña's decent, but the back four is just awful. Bruce hasn't been good.
Negative 5.3 WAR.
Wow, 5.3.
That's just on offense. He's been negative 9 on defense.
Wow.
Jay Bruce has been. I mean, that's Fangraphs WAR. People have different opinions about which WAR to use, Fangraphs or Baseball Reference. So let's bring up
negative 0.4 WAR on Fangraphs. Negative 5 is single A level bad.
I said offensive WAR. It's done on a different scale.
Oh, okay, I see.
Still a negative WAR player though.
I don't think that's WAR. That's just offensive. Yeah, that's above average, not above replacement. So there's a big difference between that. So he's 5 runs below average, not 5 runs below replacement. But point being, he's been very bad this year.
He is rocking out an 88 OPS plus. So all of the Klubers tonight is really what I'm trying to tell you here.
So I may or may not have looked ahead a little bit for the DFBC in Vegas. That's on August 16th.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Bruce is going to win somebody the $1 million. He's in Coors.
Tommy G. I'm calling it right now. Tommy G is winning the DFBC with a lineup of nothing but BVP plays, and it is going to tilt. It's going to tilt everyone. It's going to tilt me because I'm gonna say, Tommy, I don't care that you won. I care that you won it with Devin Mesoraco versus I don't know, whatever good pitcher there is.
Supposedly Jordan Lyles is making a comeback that night, but anyways, continue on.
I mean, there's just nothing to talk about. I don't even like. I have my FanDuel team pulled up right here, and it's featuring a human being named Ezekiel Carrera, who I don't even know. I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, Dan was asking about him earlier.
I didn't realize he had 43 stolen bases in AAA this year. I mean, if he gets on.
He was up with the Indians a couple years ago, and he was like a decent enough player. Like he hit like in 250 to 270 range, I think, with like tons of speed. And if you lead him off, then he's going to score some runs. So I mean, Carrera is definitely a decent guy.
Yeah, and I mean, since Mike Carp's not available for the minimum, you gotta find a minimum play somewhere. Okay, let's just start talking about hitters. Let's talk about stacks and how to approach it on a night like tonight in cash games. Because basically what you know is that your opponents are going to have the same information that you do. That Nick Martinez and Hector Noesi are like by far not even close the worst pitchers on today's slate. Like the next closest to them would probably be what?
Simon.
He was an all-star, bro.
I don't care. He's an all-star.
Stop that.
Yeah, so like everyone is going to be taking hitters from the same two teams. So my question is, how do you approach that? Do you take the guys at the top of the order, the ones who like, or do you maybe try and get some exposure to a game different? Like just take a really good hitter like Miguel Cabrera over Jose Abreu, given that they have similar price tags, but you know that more people are going to be on Abreu, or do you do what I'm doing right now and just load up your cash lineup with 4 of each?
Honestly, I think I probably take like the same organic approach I always take, where if those guys wind up in my lineup, great, and if they don't, then, whatever. I mean, they probably will wind up in there, but that's not to say those are your only options or you have to limit yourself to those guys. especially when there's weather concerns. I mean, you don't want to fade a guy either who's going to be like 70% owned in your cash games. But at the same time, I don't think you need to be so rigid about it.
We are up to 30, 25, and 85 at game time for the Rangers-White Sox game. So this slate might have just gone from like kind of playable to like literally just hope and pray. Like it's that bad. I don't know.
Yeah, if that game doesn't go, it's going to be tough. But to kind of go back with your question, I think a lot is put into, for some reason, the idea, both GPPs and cash games to some extent, that you have to be contrarian to either win a GPP or be successful in cash games. And I don't think there's a whole lot to it. I think what you want to do is you want to put the best lineup together possible no matter what. If that includes a guy that's going to be highly owned, so if that includes a guy, what's that?
I don't know how to do that. I just stack teams that I think are okay, and then go like tilt on Twitter when they don't score 12 runs.
Basically, but I think if anything, it's actually the opposite way around with cash games, where if you think there's a high upside guy like Jose Abreu that's going to be really highly owned, I think in cash games it's actually the opposite, where you almost want to fit him in because you can't afford the possible gap
if he goes off.
If he goes off. So I think strategically speaking, I think it's actually the opposite, where you're not going to fade a guy just because he's heavily owned. Actually, in cash games, you might just have to ride the train just so you're not down. If Abreu goes off for 2 home runs, then you're not down 2 home runs to start the night.
All right. Well, I want to play devil's advocate to that point, in that when you match up with other guys, like when you have 3 or 4 players that overlap, what it does is it diminishes the skill gap, basically, because baseball is such a high variance game that you're basically looking at like 12 at-bats deciding your head-to-head matchup. And that's not optimal at all, because anything can happen at 12 at-bats. Like Madison Bumgarner can hit a grand slam on 12 at-bats. Like literally anything can happen in that sequence.
Well, what's more optimal? Going head-to-head with 3 guys, or fading the optimal play just because you think the other guy's going to have it?
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't have the answer. You are the baseball strategian. I bow.
I mean, you just don't want to fade. Just fade. I get the point, and I think that's why you get that brought up, and it certainly makes more sense than GPPs or whatever, because it is so high variance that nobody's guaranteed to do well in baseball. Where you kind of you almost accept variance, especially in really large field GPPs, or variance in your lineup, because you kind of, if you hit on the guy that's under owned, then you're going to have a good night. But in cash games, it's almost a way of limiting or mitigating risk in your lineups.
Let me pose a question for you, Dan, because I think this is an interesting one. Let's say you have a guy, you think he's going to have like a good night, but not a great night. Like you think he's like just a little bit suboptimal, but you think everyone's going to be on him. Do you play him even if you think he's a little bit suboptimal because everyone in cash games is going to have him, or do you not play him because he's not, 100% optimal?
It really depends on the situation. I think most cases I'm going to play the optimal lineup no matter what. I'm not going to think about who people are playing. But I guess basically what I was doing was addressing Davis's point, where I'm not going to fade an optimal guy because he's high owned. Mm-hmm. I'm going to play the optimal guy no matter what, no matter his own percentages or anything like that. He's going to be in my lineup.
I'm about to just rock a Yankee stack tonight. Brian McCann.
Oh no, that's a different game.
Brian McCann, Brett Gardner. Hey, Brett Gardner's hot right now, bro. Swinging a hot bat, Derek.
He's a home run hitter.
Are you trying to goad me, Davis?
No, because I didn't grow up like immersed in like baseball culture. I like came into this sort of as an outsider. Like I've always played fantasy baseball, but I think that basically all of the traditions sort of held by baseball people, former players and stuff, I think it's almost even stupider than football. And I think football culture is one of the dumbest things that our country has ever invented. Like, so I just don't when data so empirically shows that certain things aren't true, but that people believe it anyways, it's just because I came into it as an outsider, I don't even understand where it started or why people would believe it. So like I just poke fun at like baseball stuff all the time, mostly because I just make fun of anything I don't understand, honestly.
Davis is just like a scared like raccoon. Like you put him in a corner, you confuse him, and he's just
a raccoon.
Yeah.
I think
because you're tiny.
I think Dan might have us muted.
I do.
Okay, yeah, you missed out on Derek calling me a raccoon and flailing his arms like he was caught in a trap. So that just happened.
Didn't you call him a raccoon at one point in time? What was his creature?
I don't remember what I called Derek. I'd have to sit down. It's like a process. But everyone in chat just
probably something majestic.
You definitely said that. I mean, your real thing is that you look like a garden gnome.
A garden gnome.
Like a little. Right. Well, actually, more like a little magical elf.
You're made for Hogwarts, is what you said.
I look like a turtle, though, so. I don't know.
That's part of the process, though. I remember you telling me is finding the most unappealing things, and
yeah, it's not ever meant to be a compliment. Never ever. Okay, let's talk about some hitters. Catcher is actually one of the ones where you don't want to take anyone in the Chicago-Texas game because like all of the catchers in that game are so terrible on offense that you're kind of giving them a nah wave. So I think for me right now, I'm either going to go cheap with Stephen Vogt or I'm going to pay up for Victor Martinez. I think those are sort of my options right now. And then I guess that you could go in the middle with Jaso if you felt so inclined.
Jaso, I don't think he's... Oh, no, never mind. We don't have...
He's batting second.
Do we have a lineup?
Yep.
Yeah.
Vogt is batting 8th. That is not optimal.
But you might as well take him in cash games, even though he's not optimal, because too many people will be on Jaso, right?
Listen, you can never be on Jaso too much, in my opinion.
Derek's favorite early season catcher is in play tonight, and he wrote him up as his number 2 catcher today.
Oh,
Avila.
Avila?
Yeah.
I wrote him up not because I like the guy, but because it's just so ugly. Like, catcher is just disgusting tonight, and Avila is at least getting a park bump and the platoon advantage. But I mean, he's against McCarthy, who I like. Honestly, I think I'm punting catcher tonight, and I'm probably going with Flowers or Chirinos.
Son, Brian Pena, get him in there, batting fifth. Like, whatever, if he hits a dong, he hits a dong. I don't know. He's super.
I like him in general, and he's cheap. But I mean, against Kluber, like in a bad park, that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, it's gonna. I mean, he's probably gonna get klubed over the head, in my opinion.
Oh my gosh.
I've been spending too much time around Soccer Dave, honestly. Like, the bad puns have just been flowing out of me. I don't know. What do you think about paying up for V-Mart tonight? I mean, he's definitely going to be lower owned than he really is.
Yeah, where like on FanDuel where he's catcher eligible, I'm okay-ish with that. I mean, I do think McCarthy is pretty good, but if you have some money to spend, I think he's a decent guy. Like, he's probably the top option tonight, even against McCarthy.
Hey, he is swinging a hot bat, though. He homered 2 days in a row. So.
That hot bat, though.
Oh, so we gotta work him in.
Yeah, gotta work him in. I don't know. Actually, honestly, I'm so stubborn that when a guy's, like, homered 2 days in a row, I'm more likely to be like, well, the data says that that's not predictive, so I'm not going to take him. Like, I remember I faded Gardner the third day. He homered in every game in the Texas series, and I didn't have him for one of those games, which was unfortunate, to say the least. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about middle infield. I think that someone that's going to get overlooked tonight, and I think actually gets overlooked a lot because he's sort of a bad real-life player, is Elvis Andrus. Another thing that's weird about tonight's slate is not only is it terrible, but all of the pitchers are right-handed. So, like, there's no platoon advantage to be had. Like, I'm gonna have to go righty-righty. I'm not gonna have a choice.
Your world is blown. Like, your mind is just... You don't know how to deal with this.
You never realize how reliant you are on left-handed pitchers until this happens.
Listen, a wise little raccoon once told me never play a player without the platoon advantage. So if I see you playing Rios or Andrus tonight or Abreu, I'm going to come over there and I'm going to give you a smack.
I promise you, all those guys are going to be in my lineup because I don't really have a choice. I mean, if I could field a lineup tonight of entirely left-handed bats, I might just do it just for the lulz, honestly. But I don't know if I will be able to supply the lulz because there might not even be enough good left-handed bats to make a lineup work. Plus, the thing that sucks with lefties is that they can always get loogied, and then I have to go on tilt in the chat, and then Dan has to tell me that I'm being ridiculous.
You're taking over Steve's spot of tilting. Yeah. Actually, you guys haven't been bad at all lately. But the shortstops I wrote down, none of them have a platoon advantage at all. I mean, the only one with, if you wanted to go this route on DraftKings, I mean, obviously not an optimal matchup, but D. Gordon at your shortstop position. Neither Conger or Ionnet are very good at throwing runners out. So if he happens to get on base, good stolen base opportunity. So I could see D. Gordon as a shortstop on draft day or DraftKings. But other than that, I mean, it's a guy in the Chicago White Sox Rangers game or our favorite Michael Viles.
I mean, definitely D. Gordon is going to go off tonight because I had him in my all days yesterday, and he inexplicably.
The
third time.
It's been a long day.
Why did he sit yesterday, though?
I don't because they just needed to get Justin Turner at bats. Also, Pedro Alvarez sitting yesterday. Good job. Trevor Cahill isn't giving up a 414 weighted on base average to left-handed batters or anything. So
they're saying Alvarez is going to start potentially losing like his regular job to Harrison. So like it wasn't like a platoon thing for them. It's they don't want to play Alvarez in general, I think.
You know, as a hot bat, Josh Harrison has a hot bat.
He does.
He has a hot bat.
Couldn't help us in cores though. Not until the last day. When everybody had him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, God, baseball's so hard. I cannot wait for football to get here and for things to make some sense again.
Baseball makes sense. You just kind of have to look at it from a broader, farther back perspective. Because
have you met
on
me?
a daily basis,
I'm incapable. All right. So yeah,
my clan just got raided.
Yeah, dude, you can't We'll see what's happening right now is everyone's going crazy with the Clash of Clans raids, because everyone has.
I'm putting my foot down. Okay, we have enough of this in the Skype chat. We are not bringing Clash of Clans onto this show.
I just lost 19 trophies though, Derek. This is important.
That is important.
I'm about to leave.
Unbelievable.
I mean, do you want to talk about some sweet middle infielders? Why don't you talk us about Gordon Beckham as a right-handed bat versus Nicholas Martinez? Because he keeps coming up in the optimizer for me, and I just want to give him the biggest nah wave of all time. Because he is terrible.
You might want to rerun it now that we have a lineup. Oh, he's still probably going to come up just because second base is so ugly, but he's batting 7th again tonight. He'd batted 2nd the past couple nights, and that's really why I thought he was maybe the top option tonight. But Alexi is back batting 2nd tonight. But I still think Beckham's a good play. He's not a great player, but tonight you're not going to get great players. And a lot of the second basemen, they're on cold streaks or they're hurt. Jason Kipnis has his oblique thing that he's playing through. He's not playing well. Kinsler has just been ice cold lately, and he's against McCarthy. So it's almost like process of elimination. Beckham, even though he doesn't have the platoon, he's up against a really bad pitcher in a really good park. And that's going to have to carry him because there just aren't a lot of other options. I do think D. Gordon is a very solid one if you want to go more expensive or less ugly, but I do like Beckham.
How about my boy Rougned Odor batting 9th?
He's another guy. On most nights, he's just not in consideration for me because there's enough options where you're not going to play a guy who bats 9th. But tonight, where you really don't have those options, Odor's definitely in play.
Well, we don't care about batting order, right?
Not according to Davis.
No, I'm just asking. You guys are such...
No. We only care about batting order
if it's not in the A's.
Anyone outside of Oakland. Yeah.
The A's, it doesn't matter because they're all getting 6 or 7 bats because they score 19 runs a game.
Odor is not an A, though. So, Davis,
He's
what do
not.
we do?
So, I mean, here's the thing. Heckner Noesi is so bad that I'm not entirely sure.
So there's a second amendment to this rule. If you're on the A's or you're against
rules
Heckner
only
Noesi,
matter when I say they matter, Derek.
What's that?
The rules only matter when I say they matter. If I say they don't matter for a given time, then they don't matter.
I will defer to you, Davis, because these rules are just beyond me.
I mean...
Did we mention Kipnis?
No.
I mentioned Kipnis and said to fade him because he's playing through an oblique and because he's been so cold. Although matchup-wise, he easily has the best one of the night, so it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to be hard to fade for me.
He might, on a normal night, I haven't been playing Kipnis in forever, but tonight he's definitely a guy that's, I'm considering just because.
Okay, let's talk about. I'm just so bored with I hate the White Sox. They're a division rival for the Royals, and I hate that we have to spend so much time talking about them. And then the Rangers are the most boring offensive team in baseball. So it's just why you do this, Hector Noesi? Why you be this way? Let's have the Miggy versus Jose Abreu conversation. I know that Brandon McCarthy is an okay option.
It's Abreu. It's not even a question. Yeah. It's Abreu.
Okay.
It's not close. Miggy is up against, a pretty good pitcher. Abreu is up against a terrible one. So, it's not close. Abreu's so good to begin with. He's in a great park. Miggy's in a good park. So Abreu, they're close enough in talent level where Abreu having the advantage in every single factor just puts him above Miggy.
Why don't you tell us how you really feel, Derek?
It's neither. It's obviously Mike Carp.
Bro, if Mike Carp was in the player pool,
I hear he's min salary.
Yeah, he's and under 3,000 on DraftKings.
He's hovering.
He actually is available on draft day for 5,500.
The site I didn't mention.
Not on FantasyElite though.
Sharpest pricing in the industry.
So draft day is it? Draft day is where you get the top first base option of the night.
Okay. like, here's the thing. I would actually really like to play on draft day today, but I don't want to just do, like, the whole two pitching sites just get annoying for me because I always feel like
Today's the perfect day for it, though. There's so many options. Like, you can easily...
No, it's a day for an abbreviated pitching article, if you ask me.
I should have... What happens is I forgot to post my head-to-heads last night, so that they're not going to fill if I post them now. So... I know, it's really sad. This is just... No one can be enjoying watching this, but we're gonna forge on anyways. I think an interesting question on FanDuel is Adam Dunn or Jose Abreu, because there's only one slot that you can use him in. Adam Dunn is like the one good hitter who has the platoon advantage today. He's like the one guy, and he's very high in Derek's projection system today. So I think there is a little bit of merit in using him instead of Abreu and going heavy at other positions with the savings.
Yeah, I mean, Dunn, he's always going to be, high risk, high reward guy, so he's not an ideal cash game play. But today, when the matchup is so good, like, I think you maybe need to put him into your cash game lineups because he has such a huge true platoon split. Nick Martinez is so bad. And, he's got the home field advantage. He's got the platoon. He's in U.S. Cellular. He's batting cleanup. The lineup in general is just going to go crazy, and he's batting right in the middle of it. So, I mean, Dunn is in as good a spot as you're ever going to find him in.
Yeah. I mean, he's almost never a cash game play. Like, honestly.
But on a night like tonight,
Yeah, and the thing about him is that... Well, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that he sort of fits the profile as an older guy who can't get to the off-speed stuff the way that he used to, but he still smokes fastballs, correct?
Yeah, and Nick Martinez throws like 65% fastballs, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to call it right now, Adam Dunn double dong game. Dunn double dong. It's going down.
He's your guaranteed dong of the night is what you're telling me.
He is my guaranteed double dong of the night. I might have a different guaranteed singular dong, but yeah.
I couldn't blame you for that. I mean, probably Abreu has a better chance just because he's better in general, but Dunn has, as good a chance to hit home run as anyone.
Yeah. All right. Any love for Brandon Moss?
What is going on with Moss? He still hasn't come out of this funk that he's in, has he?
I think what's happening is that he's sort of becoming Pittsburgh Brandon Moss a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, I wanna get a look at him because he's just been really bad lately, really bad.
He had a day off yesterday.
Yeah, so against Cobb, who's a pretty good pitcher in the Coliseum, Moss isn't a guy I'm really thrilled about playing today.
I will say, though, this happened with Donaldson where he didn't get a hit in 40 at-bats, and they kind of got him straightened out. So I don't I don't think that he's someone to start excluding from lineups or something, just because I have enough faith in the A's hitting coaches and stuff.
See, I'm okay, though, waiting a couple days and seeing that he's straightened out and missing 1 or 2 days as opposed to playing him for a week and having him just completely poop the bed.
All the Sin Choo-Choos. All of them.
Chu's playing hurt, so you can't, when Chu's healthy, he's a good player, but he's playing through his ankle thing, and he's admitted it. He's like, I should have went on the DL.
Why won't they just DL him right now?
I don't know. I really don't know.
What are they competing for? They got Mike Carp batting cleanup. What's the plan here?
No idea. Just put him on the DL, let him get healthy, let him come back and actually be able to hit.
Yeah. All right. Let's do third base real quick. There are probably some other options that people are considering, but I'm only using the Homer Conner guy Espy. I think that is the sickest spot to get White Sox exposure. I know Beltre's going to be fine, but
yeah, I think third base is actually the deepest position today. I think I didn't write up Gillespie just because I used my White Sox allotment at other positions, but Gillespie's probably the best pick for value tonight. He's probably a top 5 guy and is cheaper than all the other guys who are basically top options with decent matchups. So if you had the money, you go Beltre or you go Carlos Santana or even Donaldson. But I think Gillespie is in a really good spot, so I think he's going to be your best value play.
Yeah, I like Chisenhall too. He's still really cheap. 2,700 FanDuel, 3,600 DraftKings.
Yeah.
I like him. I think he's. I think it's a toss-up for me. I think he's cheaper than Gillespie, so I think I might have exposure to Chisenhall, especially if I end up playing Kipnis. But
if he's cheaper than Gillespie, then I like him better. But
he is.
But it is fairly close.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so much aboard that Nick Martinez is like one of the worst human beings to ever walk the face of this planet and throw spherical objects thing that like. I mean, he would get rocked at AAA, right? Like, if he went back down to AAA, he would still be giving up multiple earned runs a game.
He wouldn't be a good pitcher. I don't think he'd be getting demolished, but he wouldn't be good. Like, he's a terrible
Does Texas go to Coors again before the year's over, or do they already do their one trip there?
I don't know.
I would love Nick Martinez. I did some looking ahead of my own. And the Marlins are in Coors on the DK final, so like Giancarlo is going to be in between 120% and 150% owned versus left-handed pitching in Coors. Like he's gonna have Tyler Matzik throwing him fastballs in Coors Field.
Too bad they don't have left-handed pitching on that staff.
Oh yeah, they need some more Friedrichs.
He's just gonna break the bat. Like, he's going to be so far above everybody else. Like, he's going to be like projected for like 13 FanDuel points.
If Giancarlo played in Coors or Yankee Stadium, how many home runs would he hit a year? Like, would it be like, would you just project him at like 60?
It's
don't laugh, Dan. This is really like he has the best power tool.
Not 60. And the thing about like super like extreme power hitters like Stanton is that park factors don't affect them. Home run park factors don't affect them quite as much as like middle tier home run hitters because they hit the ball so far to begin with. Like the park is like of less impact because they're not like squeaking a whole lot of balls over the fence. So it's not like you like bump him up to like 60 or 70 home runs, but he would be very high. I mean, I would think you'd have to protect him for at least 50.
Dink told me a pretty funny story about Giancarlo just while we have nothing to talk about. So one of his best friends growing up was Ed Lucas, who is the Marlins shortstop, and so they go to play the Yankees last year, and they were taking batting practice, and predictably Giancarlo obviously hit he probably hit them a million feet and was just like looping fly balls over the short porch. And they walked back to the locker room, and someone looked at him and said, you know, if you played here, you could hit like 80 home runs a year. And he just is like, well, whatever, because he's so amazing. It's not that great of a story. Dink told it funnier. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, that was really good.
The point is, Dink secondhand knows Giancarlo Stanton is like the main point. Okay, let's talk about outfield, and let's talk about why you shouldn't play Chu. Oh wait, we already did that in the middle of talking about third baseman. So I'm gonna make you tell me why Adam Eaton either is or isn't a good play tonight, because I can't decide. He's very expensive, but he's not coming up very high in the bat.
He's a top 20 outfielder, it looks like, and I'm still making some tweaks that are going to improve the accuracy of projections of guys like that, like the high-speed batting average on balls in play type guys. So I do think he's a good play tonight, especially with how many runs that lineup is going to score. With how expensive he is, I don't think you need to force him in there, but if you want to get some exposure, I'm totally okay with it, especially because, I don't know, a lot of these guys just don't seem like plays that I want to play, like Chu and, I don't know, Bruce, like guys like that are showing up, I just want no part of.
Dan, Adam Eaton.
I think he's a tough play on DraftKings for his price. I think FanDuel at 3,600, he's in play. I think we had
Adam Eaton or Mike Brantley. They're $100 apart.
I think I go with Brantley.
I think I go with Brantley too.
See, I'm normally the one who's like, you guys are going to talk about Mike Brantley more, but tonight I'm going Eaton.
Brantley's like his price has come down so much. Like when he was like 4,200 on FanDuel, like he wasn't playable. But I don't know. Brantley's like 35 now or 36 or something, right? So now he's like reasonable, and the matchup for him is really good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean you obviously have significantly more power out of Brantley, even though it's not as good of a park. But he's actually got more stolen bases than Eaton on this season. So too. So you do have the stolen base potential with Brantley as well.
Yeah, and our homie the Luch said that Nicholas Martinez has yet to allow a stolen base pitching in the major leagues. Don't know if that means anything, but what ifs.
Because there's no point in risking stealing a base against Nicholas Martinez.
He can't record an out, so you don't actually need to take
Exactly. There's no such thing as wanting to get in scoring position because every base is scoring position against Nick Martinez.
Yep. Because he's definitely the hashtag take cover type dude. All right, and then let's do Ezekiel Carrera. Tell them why, Derek. Tell them why people. Tell the people something about him.
We talked about him a little bit at the beginning of the show, but he's finally relevant again for the first time in a couple years. He's batting second in a really good lineup in a good park, and he's got really good speed. Brian McCann isn't necessarily the best guy you want to test it against. I'm pretty sure he has a pretty good arm. I know he's great at framing, but I think he's got a pretty good arm too. But, I mean, he's got good speed. He's in a good spot, relatively speaking, and he's super cheap. So, I mean, he's a good punt tonight. He's a really good punt tonight.
Yeah. I actually would prefer Jim Aducci over him in the same game, batting fifth. Or wait, no, not in the same game.
No,
but
he's against Noesi, and
he's sixth. It's okay though. we don't worry about facts, so it's okay.
Oh my god, I quit. This is my resignation. Like I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go to sleep for a while and not work on my lineups. Whatever. You guys want to guarantee some dongs before we go?
Well, you've already guaranteed 2, so do we need to guarantee any more?
No, it's my guaranteed double dong. I still have to give out guaranteed single dongs and under the radar. Do you guys want to guarantee a double dong? Do you want to do that, or is that just me?
Honestly, Adam Dunn is just crazy, like the best bet for a home run tonight. But I would also, let's see, I'll guarantee. Jeez, I don't even know.
Abreu is the easy one.
Abreu is neat, yeah.
Dan, do you have it? Do you have anyone else that jumped out at you?
I'll guarantee Brantley.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess as like an obvious one, I'll do Beltre. Against Noesi. More under the radar, I'll take. How about Adam LaRoche?
I like that. Has Adam Eaton ever hit a home run ever in like the history of baseball?
Probably.
He has one home run this year. I don't know if it's inside the park or not, though. He's got 6 in his career.
Okay, that's my under the radar is Adam Eaton. That is how terrible Martinez is.
And we're not going to discriminate if it's inside the park or not, right?
Yeah, we never do. John Singleton hit one inside the park the other night, and he's like a big lumbering first baseman. So
I'll take Chiz and Hall as my under the radar.
That's Chiz and Dong to you, sir.
My apologies.
Under the radar, Derek.
I did Adam LaRoche. You want another one?
Oh, yeah. All right. I mean, my regret, other than like doing the research requisite to do this show today, is as a result of doing the research requisite to do this show today, I feel that implied is absolutely not the right word.
It's not even close to the word you're looking for.
It's literally.
I'm just gonna watch you struggle a little bit before I tell you what it is.
You should help me out here. Required, suggested. I feel like I should play it because I did the research to do so. It's a pretty bad ROI on my time spent if I don't play tonight. So my regret is that I did it and that I didn't just make Dan and Derek talk about the baseballs today. Because it's honestly better when they do it anyways. So what's your regret, Daniel?
My regret is the second pitcher, whoever I decide. I think Kluber, like I said on DraftKings, is clear-cut number 1. Number 2 is going to screw me over somehow.
If I end up fading this Texas-Chicago thing a little bit, that's obviously going to be my regret. I don't know.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. That should do it for today's show. We're probably going to go play some Clash of Clans before lineups lock. Well,
for sure.
All of us except for Derek Carty. We're way awesome and cool, and we have level 4 wizards because we swaggy out here.
Well, I don't, but that's okay.
I do. So for all of us here at Fantasy Insiders, Davis Maddock, Dan Gaspar, Derek Carty, David Kitchen, good luck with your lineups today. I hope the Texas game doesn't rain out for you.
Solid. I see Dan clanning it right now.
Bro,
Deciding if I should attack or just keep the shield that I have.
you want to see the ridiculous amount of resources that I have, dude?